That's big business. Hit town, but that's big pimpin'. My potential, that's infinite. Pin game insane. Make hits like King Griffin, a 10th inning.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 41, the Tom Seaver episode of the 10th Inning Podcast. I'm Sean, he's Dan, that's Aaron, and Dan's got the world in the palm of his hand.
What I got, what it feels like. Last night, we hopped on for the first time, half of our beautiful podcast here. I went on the Walk-Off podcast, shout out them. They're a great Blue Jays podcast. They have a Sunday series called The Long Toss, where they have some guests and they make a panel, and we just talk about some interesting baseball topics. Yesterday was about the deadline and some of the second half projections, and it was a lot of fun. Met a lot of really cool people. So you guys can check that out at the Walk-Off. I'll put the link in the description. And then tomorrow, we're going to be grouping up again with Baseball Everything. Who are we with tomorrow? I don't even know. Things are moving quick, guys. Like I said, we were going to do some collabs. I will link their channel down below as well. That video might even come out before this one. I doubt it. But when it does, if you're seeing this later, I'll link that. They're called Baseball Together Podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, exciting stuff. We're moving and shaking.
We are. And I wish I could have hopped on it yesterday, but unfortunately I had prior obligations at work. It was induction this weekend. Unfortunately, my plaque hasn't gone up yet. Yeah, I had to tend to David Ortiz,
And that could be a lot, I'm sure.
He's a big man. Yes.
When he's there, it's his fucking city, and that's pretty much the end of that.
Well, I think every single person from the Dominican Republic was there this weekend.
It sounded like it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand English, so it was a lot of. I'd be good at charades after this weekend. It was a lot of pointing and 1, 2, 3, that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited about what we have tomorrow. It's gonna be awesome. It's a huge step in for the 10th Inning Podcast, and we're doing our best. We're living life, having fun.
I got to say, Sean, this looks eerily similar to what I did to the taro milk tea, but I want to tell all the fans at home, this is Dunkin' Donuts' new mango pineapple refresher. Just came out this week. Have you tried it? Is this something you're?
I have not tried it, but I have had some other refreshers that are fantastic.
Yeah, so give it a try if you like. I'm actually partial to the Wendy's pineapple mango lemonade. I think it's better than this. Go out, do a little test taste, comment down below what you like better.
Absolutely. We'll turn this spin it off into a food podcast before you know it. We would be good at that.
We would be killer at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to hop into some league news. Does that work for you?
I would love that. I'd love to hear it.
Now, the first 3 topics are stuff that Dan had sent over to me this week. He's doing his due diligence, and I appreciate that. Real hard worker. The first thing I have today, prior to the All-Star games, like July, what is today's? The 25th?
Mm-hmm.
I think July 15th when this came out. The Dodge employees, like concession stand employees, were threatening a strike. They were unhappy with the working conditions and wages coming out of COVID after a lot of them were out of work because, the attendance was greatly staggered down. They were not happy with those conditions. They were threatening to not work the All-Star game, which would have been an absolute cluster of a mess. But they came to an agreement. The Dodgers negotiated with the company that runs the concessions and finds the employees for those spots. They were able to avoid that, thankfully, because that would have been an absolute mess and a black eye look on baseball. The Dodgers, the city of LA, anybody who was affiliated with that, but that was avoided, which was very good. Dan is affiliated with the Dodgers and the city of LA. He'll be running for mayor very soon.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, this is kind of a sad look. Because it's LA, who spends money frivolously, right? That organization, especially the Dodgers. And B, we just came out of two situations. First of which, the pandemic.
Yeah.
Where everyone's talking about players, losing the year. Think about all the workers who needed their jobs to just, make ends meet at the stadiums, who lost a lot of money during the pandemic when they couldn't work. And now, fast forward to this season, we had the lockout, right? And a lot of those people lost out on wages too, because people just could not work. And there was some talks during the lockout about what are people going to do? What are concessions workers going to do if they can't work? I don't know. It's just been really hard on the average American the last couple of years, especially average American working in sports, because sports is one of those things with a lot of contact and it's not necessary. So a lot of people lost a lot of time. So it's kind of sad to see that an organization wouldn't be, proactively being more helpful. I guess I don't even know how to put it into words, but especially a wealthy organization like the Dodgers, you want to see them treating their employees better than they should. That's just my take on it.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And, they had the leverage as the All-Star game coming up. So, that's what it took to get the conditions that they wanted, which, hopefully next time, like you said, they'd be proactive in that situation. Speaking of employees not necessarily being paid to what they feel they should be, Major League Baseball in the last week or so settled with minor league lawsuit minor league pay lawsuit, excuse me. They settled $185 million with the, I forget the number of ex-minor leaguers or current minor leaguers who were involved in that lawsuit. But then the list is pretty extensive. But, this topic has been coming up recently with Major League Baseball kind of trimming the minor leagues a bit, getting rid of some teams and affiliates that, were deemed not necessarily making money or not essential to what the product was. But when I read into this, I knew the minor leaguers were not being paid well. It's kind of a well-known fact. But I read into it, and the average minor leaguer is making between $7,000 and a little over $14,000 a year, and they're only paid during the season when they play. So from October through early part of March, you're not getting paid by the organization. You have to either, get your own job, or if you're good enough to have endorsements, we'll get some endorsement money. That for most minor leaguers is not a thing. And Major League Baseball has said that they want to, basically being forced to, increase the pay of minor leaguers from public pressure and all that. And I never realized that the Major League Baseball has received many exemptions from Supreme Court or any other laws that they're able to pay these players lower wages. That being the reason for that being is a lot of times they're supposed to supply lodging, like housing, and food and things of that nature. But when they do, sometimes they don't always get the best quality, and the travel's very difficult. They're not flying on planes unless they absolutely have to. They're taking bus rides, 8-9 hours on end. It's not exactly a lavish lifestyle they're living until they get higher up the ranks to the major leagues, and even then it takes a little while. But it's not exactly a great look. They settled. They did not end up going to court. I think they settled. The court date was, I think, a month or so from now. Major League Baseball is smart on their part not to let this go to court and the publicity to get even worse. But this, I think, is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to minor league wages moving forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in here if you don't mind. This is kind of like what the soapbox was a couple weeks ago when we talked about the draft, or last week, I guess, when I kind of went on that tangent about Jackson Holiday and Drew Jones getting first and second, and I kind of mentioned, not only do a lot of these families have privilege coming up, better access, but when they get in the minors, they're able to stick it out. Like I said, these players are not getting paid anything. And if, even if you think you might have a chance, you just might not be able to give yourself 3 or 4 years in the minors to find out whether you can make the majors, because you don't have the money to play. I mean, you can't, hold a family or even keep yourself, afloat making $7,000 to $14,000 a year, regardless of how much your potential is. Some people just have to give up on their dreams. I just think it's so short-sighted of Major League Baseball, and it'd be so much to their benefit to start paying these players more, because I really do feel they're missing out on a lot of talent just because talented players don't have the financial resources to play minor league baseball, to grind their way to the majors, to improve themselves. So I really do think it's in their interest to raise wages. As far as I think what you're referring to is the antitrust laws. Been learning a lot about that last year in some of my classes. MLB is the only sport exempt from antitrust laws, which kind of allow them to maneuver in ways where the government can't hurt them, because it was decided in like 1922 or something that baseball was a state by state basis, and it wasn't federal law, it was state law, and they can't enforce basically general salary minimums and stuff like that for minor leaguers because of that. But it is pretty unfortunate. Certainly should be monitored and controlled by the Fed. Clearly, every other sport is. It was just decided so long ago, and no one's taken them to court since. So here we are.
Yeah. And then you have the signing bonuses of these players, but obviously your first round pick, you're getting, I forget the signing bonus. It's in the millions, I think 5-6 million signing bonus. But later rounds, your signing bonus maybe $20,000, and that runs out really quick. Very rarely does a player spend, a year in the minor leagues. Very, very rarely. Almost never happens. So that money runs out quick. It's not like it's a lot of money. So you really have to
in the later rounds don't even get bonuses. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if you really want to have a shot at the major league, especially coming over from another country or something, I mean, it's not easy.
I kind of have the next topic I have kind of feeds into this a little bit.
Sure.
Today was the deadline for the Players Association or the Players Union and Major League Baseball to come on an agreement with the rules and money pool for an international draft. They did not come to an agreement. Major League Baseball proposed $190 million pool of money to be spread amongst the 20-round international player draft. The Players Association Union doesn't really want a draft. They like to have an open market for the players because they would receive more money, so it's in their best interest. Major League Baseball wants a draft because they want structured salaries, signing bonuses, as just discussed in the regular draft. That obviously, no status quo now. Nothing is changing because they could not come to an agreement. This has been a topic that's been long talked about. It was one of the major sticking points in the CBA that both sides decided to table for the time being so that they could get the game of baseball going back on track. But this is, like I said, has been talked about for a long time. I think eventually it's going to happen. But the real people losing out on this are the prospects coming from these countries because they're in limbo. If this would have been agreed on, there would have been an international players draft within the year. I don't know exactly when it would have been. And now, it creates a whole, they don't know what's going on. Baseball, that's something they struggle with, is they are not necessarily great at communication in any regard, communicating their own players to the public, let alone communicating amongst themselves. And this is something that I think was a cool idea. Obviously, the teams that have more money would be better, at signing players. But then again, look at the Tampa Bay Rays. They signed Victor Mesa, or one of the Victor Mesas, and to a large contract, out of his, wherever country he's from. But I just thought it was kind of interesting things. We've been hearing about this for a while, and for it to kind of just fall apart like this, pretty quietly too. It wasn't really a whole lot of publicity around it, but
yeah, it's a really interesting topic. There's a lot of strong opinions on both sides and both ways from both sides too. There's a lot of intricacies within it. I mean, like you said, if you move to a draft, the Dodgers can't just sign every international player they want because they have the money. It's a competitive balance move for the MLB to allow smaller market teams to have the same chance to sign players. For the players, it also helps with poaching. I mean, some of these players like Jason Dominguez are getting picked up at 13, 14 years old. And there's a lot of talk within these countries that they don't like that. It takes them out of school. You know what I mean? They go to these camps that aren't really good for their development as people. And maybe they're okay as a player, but they're not great for them as people. There's a lot of like poaching kind of things that don't really seem healthy. Whereas in a draft, you can only, there would be an age minimum. Then you'd have to be like 15 or 16. probably 16 like it is in the MLB draft. But of course, even in the 20, if it's 20 rounds, some people might not get signed.
Yeah.
Because more than 20 rounds of players sometimes get signed to contracts, even if they're really tiny contracts. And the fight is kind of like with the Ozzy Albies, Acuna signing these contracts. It's like, is it a bad thing or a good thing? What side are we on? Because are they taking less money than they could get? Are MLB teams poaching them because they know they're broke, they don't have money, they want to set themselves up for life, even though they can make 30 million, they're giving them 11 over 10 years or whatever, like they did with Franco and Ozzy. Or are they just locking them up and giving them the security that they want? It's a very difficult, it's a case by case basis, and there are some, I think, international players who want it and some who don't, for obvious reasons. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I'm not even sure where I stand on it.
I'm intrigued by it. I don't know how I feel about it necessarily either, but I am intrigued by the idea of it just for the competitive balance. But it's another thing the Players Union and the Major League Baseball can't agree on, which is, they can't agree on much of anything. They're the worst of it when it comes to the four major sports. Something that was agreed upon was the advertising ads on jerseys and helmets, which will be beginning to take place next year. First off, I'm gonna say I hate it, but I understand it. There's a lot of money involved with that. The Padres just recently this season signed an agreement with Motorola for I think 5 years or so. Maybe not quite that long, but it's in that neighborhood. Other sports have done. The NBA did it in 2017. You kind of get used to it. The NHL has done the same thing. They just did the helmets. Starting next year, the jerseys will be getting it, much like Major League Baseball. Soccer has been doing it, forever, in the U.S. and in Europe and all that. I guess you get used to it after a while, but baseball is tough just because, I don't know, something about a baseball uniform, it's just got a clean look. There's not much to it. You get the team logo on the crest, and that's about it. And then the helmet is going to be very, I don't know, going to look a little tacky to me, for lack of a better term. I understand it. I do. And even in the article I read, Rob Manfred said, didn't necessarily sound enthused at the idea, but basically said we'd be dumb not to do it because of the financial benefits of it, because companies are going to be shelling out lots and lots of money for this. 162 games, not including playoffs. You're getting advertising on your jersey, on your. I understand it. It makes financial sense.
Yeah, it's tough. It's one of those ones that you're kind of like, eesh. But at the end of the day, I don't like it, but I get it. It's a lot of money to pass up, and all it is kind of just something a little bit weird to look at. It's not affecting anyone. Thankfully, it's not affecting a player. It's not one of those decisions. Yeah. It's just a business decision that's kind of like hard to turn down, like Manfred said. I mean, but look at this right there. Look at Judge's jersey that I'm leaning away from right now. What do you see? You see a Nike swoosh. So, I mean, even when Nike took over the jerseys and now they're, Nike dry fits, a lot of them, they have the swoosh on them. Branding's just a part of everything, and it's a big part of sports, and now it's going to be a part of baseball even more so.
Yeah.
So
I get used to it, unfortunately. But yeah, this is just, I mean, when it comes to the bottom line, it's money is the root of everything. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense they're going to do it. All right. So what do I have next year? I just have a little something about Soto here. Obviously, we'll get into the deadline more tomorrow, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But many executives across baseball believe the Cardinals have among the teams with the best shot because of the deepest farm system. And as we discussed last week, the Nationals want at least 3 top prospects close to the major league level and 1 to 2 major league ready players, whether they're in the major leagues or ready to come up. And the Cardinals have a deep system. I thought that was kind of interesting. Could you imagine Arenado, Goldschmidt, and Soto hitting back to back to back?
Yeah, I can't imagine because I got a take. It's a hot take, but I feel like I really know where Soto's going. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to feature it later today. It'll be my hot take for the week. Okay. But I'll talk about it a lot tomorrow. Give my real in-depth analysis on who I am And this team really hasn't been thrown out there that much, if at all. Doesn't make much sense. But I'm hot on this take, Sean. I think I know where he's going. I don't think it's the Cardinals.
Okay.
Something about the Cardinals interesting. We were talking about on the podcast, on the walk-off podcast yesterday. Let's say the Blue Jays play the Cardinals in the World Series. Game 1 in the Rogers Center in Canada. What happens when Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado can't start in the World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals?
That was my next topic I actually had.
That would be an interesting situation. There would be calls for their head to get it. There'd be a lot of political divide. I'm not going to take a stance on whether, I think it's right or wrong. Do what you want to do. But that would be tough.
Yeah.
If it's Blue Jays Cardinals, that would be, I can't even imagine what Nolan and Paulie would go through.
Yeah.
And Major League Baseball would probably have to make a decision. Like, what are we going to do as a product standpoint? Are we going to allow this to happen? Because that would be terrible for the playoffs. But they can't take it away from Toronto. You have a whole country watching. It's a great stadium. It's a great atmosphere to post on TV. You can't have them playing in Dunedin in the World Series. You know what I mean? You can't have them playing in Buffalo. So.
Yeah, I was exactly about to start that. That was my next topic. So
take it away from you. How do you feel?
Well, it's okay. It's okay. That's something I got to figure out. That affects teams with the trade deadline. The Yankees with Benintendi.
Yeah.
It's apparently they're still hot on him, but that's a big thing to consider.
Yeah.
In my last topic, you're gonna love this one. First of all, you share a name with him. Daniel Vogelbach, traded to the Mets. Did you see him last night run from second to home in 7.9 seconds?
I didn't, but I'm telling you, Sean, people, they underestimate Big Dance, okay?
Yeah.
We get it moving. When the train starts coming, it don't stop. You can attest to this, Sean.
Oh, yeah.
Have I ever been the slow guy in my life?
Just don't get in the way. The bleachers moved when you ran into them.
That's what I'm saying. But I was moving, okay? I used to be leadoff, stolen base threat, okay? Doesn't matter how big. Big guys can move too.
Certainly can.
That's my PSA. Good for the Mets.
Yeah, we'll throw in a clip of him running from second to home. It's a beautiful thing to see.
I'll throw it in right here. Right here.
Vision that they had in the outfield earlier in San Diego had anything to do with that. A little hesitation from Profar coming in.
Love that. Still don't know if I love the trade, but love that.
Yeah.
That is all I have for league news this week.
All right. Well, I'm going to get into my stats for the week. And guys, on one side of the ball, I probably had my best week of the season. One side of the ball, I had my worst week of the season. Sean, which side do you think I had a good week at?
I think you had a good week at pitching.
You would be correct. Yeah, I've combined my stats from the 4 games. Sean, pretty atrocious. I went 3 for 11 this week. A walk, 2 runs, and no RBIs. Just 3 singles. That was it. It was a really tough week for me at the dish. I got removed from the leadoff spot for the first time all year. I actually got removed starting this week. So clearly my stats not in the leadoff spot doesn't work. I'm definitely a mental player, so it definitely affected my confidence a little bit. I was trying to do a little bit too much. I got moved from leadoff, which I have been, over the course of almost, 35 games this season, down to the 8th spot, Sean. So it was, and I didn't feel I deserved it. You can check the stats from the last couple of weeks. I've still been hitting really well. I've been getting on base at like a 700 clip. I didn't understand why a lot of the other players on the team. I didn't question it though, because a lot of times when coach makes a decision, everyone's like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" I'm like, you know what? I've always been the guy to say, he's the coach. I play where he wants me to play. I want to do what's best for the team. I was definitely shocked. But a lot of the other players on the team, especially on Tuesday, was like, "Why is Dan batting so low?" And I just said, "Hey, it's all right. Don't worry. Let's get some wins, boys." Clearly, it affected my performance at the plate. On the mound, though, I did have one lefty hit this week, though. I will say one of those 3 hits was lefty.
That's nice.
28 innings pitched, Sean, this week. Okay, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 11 putouts from the mound. I had 3 or 4 line drives back in my face, caught them, turned a couple double plays from the mound, and I did something special. There's been 2 things that I've been hoping to do my whole career. The first of which is have a shutout, and I've had 3 opportunities at that. Lost them all 3 in the 7th inning, I believe. And the other thing I've always wanted to do is have a game where I didn't walk a batter whatsoever. My walks per 7 has been sitting around 1.5 to 2 the last 2 seasons. It's been really, really solid. But I finally did it on Wednesday this week. Struck out 5, walked none over 14 innings pitched. In a co-ed game, which is tough because usually girls are a lot easier to walk. They take a lot of pitches. That's part of their game plan is to try and walk. And co-ed guys get a double if they walk. So the walk rates in co-ed are much higher than men's. So to be able to do it there over 14 innings was, I didn't throw more than 2 balls in a row ever. So it was just, I was really proud of myself. It came in a loss, so it wasn't really a big celebration, unfortunately. But again, 28 innings and 1 walk. I got to give myself a pat on the back for that. That's probably the best pitching week I've ever had. Any thoughts on that? I mean, yeah.
The hitting, I know you said you're a little bit of a mental player. Try not to let that bother you. Maybe, talk to coach a bit. Like, hey, what do I got to work on to get back higher up the order in my 1 spot?
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the 8th spot. Let them know, you want to move back up.
Yeah.
But, you just had a rough week. It's just a week. Put it behind you. You'll be fine. As far as pitching goes, keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. The Cy Young Award will be in your future if you keep doing what you're doing.
I really feel it's coming, Sean. I'm even better than last year, and I was close last year. Moving on to our pick to click. As of last week, Sean, you had 6 points, and I had 9. That home run derby did some damage for me. Obviously, John Carlos Stanton wins MVP for the All-Star game. No one in their right mind had that. Bringing the season total to Sean, you got 19, and I'm sitting at 22. You are now sub 3. How does it feel, Sean? You're back underneath. Figure it out.
I'm a little disappointed in my performances. I think maybe I'm not thinking things through enough. You're very stiff competition. You're no slouch at all. Let's get that one established. But, I'm not giving up. I got faith. This is going to be a good week. This is going to be a fantastic week. And maybe my hot take is I close the gap to 1. I don't know.
I like that. We're back to a normal week, so point values aren't as going crazy. The All-Star break definitely allowed for a lead to emerge, but still only down by 3. That's more than reasonable to catch up in 2 weeks.
A lot of game to go, a lot of season left.
A lot of season to go. I'm going to move on to my hitter highlight, Sean, and that's Aaron Judge. Had an amazing season so far. Shocking. This is his first time ever to make a hitter highlight, but he put it all together in a week. I am cheating a little bit. I'm including last Saturday as well, but it's still only just 6 games in that 8-day period. 14 for 25, hit 566, over the week. 10 runs, 2 doubles, 6 homers. Again, that's over 6 games. And 15 ding-dongs, Sean.
Wow.
I'm sorry, 15 RBIs.
Wow, that's a lot.
6 home runs, 15 RBIs. That would be something else. He rose his average from a season low of 274 back up to 294. He's got an expected batting average of 295, so he's right where he should be. I don't think he's overperforming. I don't think he's underperforming. He's in the 100th percentile, Sean. We talk about a lot of guys between 90 and 95, like they're in the high 90s. 100th. He's the best in baseball in every single batted ball metric except expected batting average, which is 96th percentile at 295. Hard hit rate, barrel rate, exit velocity, max, average. He is the best in baseball this season. Listen, we talk about contract years a lot, Sean. He's having one. He is having a contract
yes, he is.
Aaron Judge. Congratulations, Aaron. And he made the cover. That's big news.
Yeah, some of our coaches is crying tears of joy.
He is. You got a hitter highlight for us?
I do. And it's a guy who underperformed a lot of this year, but had a good week. Adolis Garcia. He's a guy who I had in my top rankings this year in the season rankings. I don't remember exactly where in the top 10 I had him. He had a bit of a breakout year last year, a big breakout year last year, underrated because of the Texas Rangers. And frankly, no one really pays attention to the Rangers, not much since Josh Hamilton was there. Yes, that is true. He is starting to heat up a little bit too, and so is Marcus Semien. But it couldn't have been much for Semien. But that's beside the point. This week, Adolis Garcia was 8 for 17, which is a 4.71 average, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and an OPS over 1,000 in the last 7 games. He's still he's very much an all or nothing hitter. Struck out four times, 17 at bats. Not great. But he is who he is. Nothing right. too crazy. He's that type of player. Doesn't hit for a high average necessarily, but had over 1,000 OPS and a nice bounce back week for him because it's been a bit of a struggle recently for this season. But he looked good this week.
Beautiful. I love the pick. Love shouting out guys that have been struggling. Clearly, I didn't do that with Aaron. My pitcher highlight, Sean. We're gonna go double Aaron today, Sean. Are you ready for this?
Wow, I'm ready.
Aaron Nola is getting the pitcher highlight. 1-0 this week, 8 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned, 1 walk, and 10 Ks. I don't remember I didn't write who he was pitching against, Sean. If you could look up who Aaron Nola faced this week,
sure.
That'd be great. His expected ERA is at 2.71. I think his ERA is sitting at 3.13. So I'm big on Aaron Nola. I think he should have made the All-Star game, to be honest with you. Him and Wheeler. He's underrated, really, due to his bad luck last year. He had over 4.5 ERA, but he was the worst luck pitcher of all time. We talked about this in our pitcher rankings. His ERA should have been a 1.5 lower last year. And honestly, other than having bad luck and people underrating him, I think he's having his best year yet. I really do. High on Aaron Nola for the rest of the season. I've been trying to trade for him in Fantrax and in the regular league for fantasy for weeks on end. Matt Savallo, Didi's nuts, friend of the pod, has him in both leagues. Sean, National League East guy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Nola?
I like Nola. I feel like he's been underrated. He had his best year, I think, in 2017, the first year DeGrom went absolutely nuts. So he would have won the Cy Young had it not been for DeGrom. He had a bit of last year was a bit of a down year, but as we discussed, I think, during the winter time, he got unlucky more than his game slipped. Mets haven't faced him too much this year, I don't believe. They played the Phillies a lot, but I've kind of missed him. But he's starting to get in his stride, and he's a very good pitcher. I like Aaron Nola a lot. I like their staff. Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, I think, are very underrated pitchers, both of them. They're very good.
Yeah, I think he gets a lot of flack, and I used to be one of those guys who was underrating him because everyone was like, he's an ace, he's an ace, he's an ace. And maybe he's not, but he's a top 30 pitcher. So in that regard, he's an ace. He's a really, really, really high 2, and honestly, I think he's a low to mid 1. Now, there's nothing wrong. He's not probably going to win a Cy Young, but I think he could be a 2.7 to 2.8 pitcher, 2.7 to 3. You take that all day. There's nothing wrong with Aaron Nola leading his staff. I think plenty of teams would like to have that. Did you get who he's faced this week?
Miami Marlins.
Miami. Okay, there you go. I appreciate your services, Sean. Did you?
It's a shame he couldn't have done the complete game.
What do you say?
It's a shame he couldn't have done the complete game.
He was close. He was very close. 2 outs.
Yeah, I do have a pitcher highlight. It's a guy who really kind of fell off the map. Jose Quintana. A couple of years ago, he was one of the hot pitching guys on the trade market. Went from the White Sox to the Cubs, I believe. And he's had a solid year, but this week, obviously, one start because of the All-Star game and all that. He went 7 innings pitched, 4 Ks, got the win. Obviously, didn't give up any earned runs, so his ERA was 0. I don't have who he pitched against either, much like you here. But game log. I'll have it in just a moment. But either way, he's on the Pittsburgh Pirates now. He went against also against the Miami Marlins.
Miami having a tough week this week, huh? Damn.
Brutal on the Pirates. But yeah, he's a guy who doing well after a bit of a downturn. He's having a nice year for the Pirates. I apologize if I said he wasn't before. I misspoke on it. But he's having a solid year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets dealt within the coming week before the deadline.
I wouldn't be surprised either, because after doing my research today for our episode tomorrow, I do have him being dealt. I won't say to which team, but I do have the Pirates moving him. That's the player I think they're going to move. He's the pick that I had. Moving on, Sean, I have my minor leaguer highlight for this week. A little story before I talk about him. I actually saw this guy last Saturday. Okay, I went to Wappinger Falls, all right, to watch a game for the Renegades. Did we talk about this last week or no?
I don't think so, no.
I don't think so, right? Well, I went to WAP, had a fun time. I ended up getting on the field, playing a game. I'll put that here. You see me get hit with a water balloon and in a Minions costume on the dugout dancing. It was quite. I mean, I was there. They gave me free tickets. You know, they say, "Hey, Dan, come to the game. We'll give you free tickets." I get there. They give me free food vouchers. The GM is dapping me up. They're saying my name on a loudspeaker. You know, when I go back places, Sean, they go crazy. Hey.
Can you blame them?
What'd you say?
Can you blame them?
No, I'm that guy. So they're like, you got to come on the game. You got to play a game on the field. Fans would love it. I say, you know, I'm never afraid to get wet. Splash me in the face a couple times, the water fans will go crazy. They do. Right after the game, the guy goes, do me a favor. All right? Do me a favor. Throw on a mascot costume. So they had me, Leif, and Zeke throw on a mascot costume at a High A Renegades game. Okay? And we were sitting there, 2 Minions and Gru. Okay, high-fiving fans. He said, they're going to go on the field and play kickball in the mascot costumes after the game. End up the 9th inning goes like 40 minutes. So all of a sudden, we're just sitting there. I'm sweating my balls off. And the Renegades tie it up, so we don't go on the field after. We thought we were going to lose. Go back to the dugout. They have us go back on the field to get water balloons thrown on us. Thank God, honestly. That point, was too hot. And Renegades come back to walk off and win it. I'll link that. I have a video out about that. I'll probably link it in the description below. Excuse the burp.
I can't believe that we always have people that want to play it. We have a couple of our old interns that have done the game before. Guys, spread yourselves out a little bit. It's a very simple game. You can go over to. Whoever gets control of the bucket doesn't get wet. What color are your eyes? Brown. That's correct. What is your father's first name? Winston. I heard about it. He's great. What college did you go to? I didn't. You didn't go to college? Wrong answer. What, you went to Apex Technical and you got to keep the tools? What's the name of the stadium the Yankees play in? Yankee Stadium. Very good.
Zeke's moving like a bandit. There you go.
Let's guys have all 3 guys.
Anyway, the pitcher that day was TJ Sycamore from the Hudson Valley Renegades, and this guy was filthy. Had a no-hitter into the 5th inning. Perfect game, actually. Into the 5th inning. He hit a batter, and then he gave up some hits. He seems like a good long reliever. He just kind of got tired towards the end after the 5th. He didn't have it in him. But when he was on, Sean, this guy is filthy. I'm a big fan of this guy. He was the 38th overall pick in 2019, 19th overall prospect for the Yankees. His last 2 starts, Sean, 10 innings, 21 Ks. That's a lot. 2 walks and 2 earned runs. He's 6 foot 220, and he's 23 years old. He's got an amazing slider and changeup, and he can mix his slider from 78 to 83. If you're thinking that's a high variance, it is, because he changes the shape on it, and I can attest to that seeing it in person. The fast one has really good bite to it, and he has amazing spin rate. As far as minor leaguers go, he's one of the best on a slider. What I'll do here, Sean, is I'm going to share my screen. Bring him up. That's TJ right there, number 17. He's a lefty as well. That's a little slide piece right there. So these are his strikeouts. That's another slide piece.
Against the Mets, nice.
Another slide piece. Now, I mean, did you see the movement on that, baby? I mean, that starts outside, Sean. That's finishing almost back foot. Another slide piece. Oh, I think I went too far back. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a minute long. We're gonna watch TJ second up for a minute. Why not? Let's watch these sliders. See if he gets a changeup in here. This is at the Renegades. Whew. Looks like just a fastball taken on the outside. Another slide piece that finishes. I mean, that's in the other batter's box. Yeah, his slider, Sean. I'm telling you, it is a plus pitch. I think he has a really good shot at becoming a high leverage reliever. His fastball sits 92, 93. It's nothing to brag about. But with the change of speed, I think, I mean, again, he'll be able to make it work. He might have one more left in here, and that might be it. There's a good look at his face if that's the last one. Hopefully you see him in the major leagues soon enough. 23. That is my minor league highlight of the week.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I'll get into my players to watch, Sean. We got Ryan Mountcastle this week. Okay, almost been a player to watch a couple weeks ago, but now I couldn't ignore it. Matt Zavallo, Didi's Nuts, actually just dropped him, believe it or not, in Fantrax. So if you're interested, maybe rebuilding team like Sean Meyer, young first baseman, think about picking him up. 265 batting average right now, Sean, but his expected batting average is 96th percentile, tied with Aaron Judge, and that's because it's 294. His BABIP is 318, but his career BABIP is also 318. You think, why would his batting average be so low, but his BABIP is pretty normal? So that means he's not really getting unlucky. So what is going on is the question. We'll talk about that in a second. He's got a 519 expected slugging, which is 95th percentile. His real slugging is 464. So, excuse the burp. Oh, that was almost a throw up there, Sean. Jesus Christ, that was dangerous.
A little surprise.
His batting average and his slugging is underperforming. Again, his BABIP is stable. His average exit velocity, 91%, hard hit rate, 90th percent, expected weighting on base, 90th percent. His K and walk rates are certainly the issue. We're gonna dive into this one. We usually do the pitcher dive in. We're actually gonna do the hitter dive in this week. He's also hitting off speed. Finally, his fastball is seemingly a little bit unlucky, and I think that's why the BABIP is staying stable, because he's actually hitting an off-speed pitch better, but the fastball he might be getting unlucky, and that might be counterbalancing, creating why you won't be able to see it in the BABIP. Again, take a look at this. That's a lot of red, as we'd like to say, but his strikeout to walk rate is kind of brutal. It's 25.5 to 5.5. It's going to be tough. Again, you see this right here. The guy's hitting the ball extremely hard. Coming down here, so take a look at last year. 277 batting average on this is for fastballs here, if you guys can't tell. 279 expected. So pretty much he did what he was supposed to do. He hit fastballs well, which most young players should. Breaking balls, he had a little bit of a tough time. Actually got pretty lucky. He hit a little better than he should have. And the off speed, which is like a changeup, just absolutely struggled with. 162 and 194. We come up to this year. Take a look at the improvement. I mean, this is exactly what you want to see. I believe he's, what is he, a second or third year player? Third year player at 25. I mean, look at the improvement he made on the off speed pitch. Really, it looks like he did a lot of work in the off season to work on that. Again, 293, 289. That's almost a 100-point swing. Same for the breaking ball. He's hitting the breaking pitches great. And take a look at what he should be doing with the fastball. 292, pretty much in line with last year, even better. But his batting average is under 250. This is a guy who can crush fastballs, but can also now hit the off speed. So when this normalizes and stabilizes back to closer to 280, 290, I think that's where you're going to see the difference in his batting average and slugging. And that's the biggest difference here. The same thing. It's 420 slugging, expected 515. Everything else is pretty much in line, off speed. So I think that's why the BABIP you can't tell the difference in, because for some reason he's not hitting the fastball as well. He's getting pretty unlucky just with one pitch. But when that turns around, and it's great to see that it is the fastball because that's the easiest thing to fix. It's the thing he's hit his whole career. It's not like he's struggling with off-speed pitches, excuse me. And if he could fix this strikeout to walk rate, Sean, he could be pretty dangerous. Big kid, 6'4", 230 at 25. Bright future for Ryan Mountcastle. He's my hitter highlight of this week.
I love that.
Thank you very much. I'm actually going to take a look to see if he's on waivers and regular, because Max Muncy's been killing me, and I could honestly use a player like him. I forgot to do that the other day. Do you have a hitter to watch?
I do not have a particular hitter to watch, but I will say Daniel Vogelbach.
Oh, amen, brother.
I think he has a big week.
I like to hear it. I also think he has a big week. I have a pitcher to watch as well. What'd you say?
So he's a big guy, so he should have a big week.
You can't have a small week when you're that big. You just can't.
Yeah, exactly.
My pitcher to watch this week, Sean, not as exciting. I was pretty excited about that Mountcastle breakdown. I'm not going to lie to you. It's Julius Chassin. Okay, a little Colorado's Rockies action. ERA right now sitting at 7.36. You know, kind of an easy one to pick. You'd hope that comes down. His expected ERA is 4.6, so I don't think he's going to be a stud. But I do think he should have some better luck going forward, bringing that ERA down a couple points. I will say, though, his baseball savant, you've never seen more blue in your life. Chassin does not look like he's going to be doing well. But his expected ERA is like close to 4.5, which is what it's been his whole career, basically. So I don't see any reason he doesn't stabilize back down, which means he has some good starts coming. The issue is his K rate is 17%, and his walk rate is 9. That ain't great. To be frank with you, that's a sub-10 strikeout to walk rate, which is pretty garbage. The one thing I will say is he was throwing his sinker much more this season, but it's clearly his worst pitch. But his last 2 outings, he's decreased his sinker usage. It was going from his most used pitch, and batters were hitting close to 400 against his sinker basically all season. His last 2 outings, it's been his 3rd most used pitch. He's gone more slider and curveball, which hitters are doing much more poorly against. So I expect his numbers to get better as he starts to go away from what's not working in the sinker. That's Julius Chassin for you. Thank you.
Not a good year for him so far, Chassin.
No, not good. We're on to hot take, Sean. Do you have a hot take for me?
I do. Now this will also be talked about in tomorrow's episode a bit, but the Red Sox have been just a total mess. Their run differential, I think, was negative like 70 something in the past 4 games. It was like a record. First time since like 1901 that's happened. They can't field, they can't hit, they can't pitch. They lost 28-5 to the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Now I say this because you would think they would sell at the deadline, right? They have Xander Bogaerts, they got JD Martinez, they got other guys who they could trade. I think the Red Sox, with the extra wild card, don't sell at the deadline when I think they should, but I don't think they do. I think they hold on to their chips and go for a wild card, and I think that they're better than they are now. Devers is injured, which doesn't help. Chris Sale, I don't know if he's ever going to be healthy. The guy just can't stay healthy. But I think the Red Sox are in win mode. Even with Bogaerts being a free agent, they just signed Story this offseason. They have money invested in the team. I don't think they're ready to throw in the towel, especially when they're just on the outside looking in the playoffs. I don't have the standings in front of me, but they can't be too far out. I think they don't sell. I think they hold. Maybe they even add some players, but nothing major though. But I think they basically stand pat.
I kind of like that hot take, Sean. I'm going to throw a surprise at you. I'm going to be honest with you. They're one of like the 2 teams I actually have as holding. I agree with you. I think they hold at the deadline. I don't think they have a lot. People talk about Bogaerts, but he's still got a couple of years, I believe, on his deal or something like that. I don't know.
This year's his last year.
It's last year? I thought I saw that he had.
I'm pretty sure.
That's what I keep hearing from the people. I keep hearing that, but then I looked it up today and I thought I saw that he had more years, and maybe what I saw was wrong.
Maybe he has a player option or something.
maybe it's an option that he's probably going to opt out of. That would make sense. But I do have them holding. So I'm with you. I'm with you on your hot take. I don't know if you're going to be with me on my hot take. And again, I'm just going to tease it. I'm going to go over it tomorrow, watch tomorrow's episode, the collab with Baseball Together. I think the team that gets Juan Soto, showing you a little journal for the Tampa Bay Rays. Okay.
Wow.
I think I have I made the package as well. I used the baseball the trade simulator. Okay. I had the package lined up. I'll discuss it tomorrow. Here's why. I think the Rays, again, Soto has the remainder of this year and 2 more years locked up. You know what I mean? Like he's not a free agent at the end of this year. The Rays have the draft capital to do it. I mean, not the draft capital. They have the prospect capital to do it. I'm thinking NBA right now. They have the prospect capital to do it. And what I think they do, they make a run this season. If it doesn't work out by next season, they flip him at next season's deadline. They don't have to pay him anything. He's not making a shitload of money. They flip him at next season's deadline for the same, basically the same thing they get him for, and they basically get him for free. That's a savvy Rays organization type move. I think Juan Soto with inflation will be worth just as much at next season's deadline to somebody as he is this one. And if they're in contention for winning again, they run it again next year with him on the team. And then the next season, they could also trade him again if they wanted to, before they have to pay him. Do I think Rays sign him long-term? No. But I think they know they can utilize him for a playoff run cheap and trade him to recoup a lot of the assets they're going to give up.
I like that because that's something the Rays absolutely would do. Absolutely would do that.
And they can use a bat. So
yeah.
But we'll talk about the full package. I have everyone lined up who I think they should give up, who I think the Nationals will want. I think the teams actually, the farm system lines up. They got young players that have earned the majors already, like Brujan, players like that the Rays aren't really using. So I really do think it's going to line up well. That's my hot take. Soto to the Rays.
Okay, I like that.
Thank you.
A little bit out of the box.
A little bit. Now I'm trying to get back to my my Google Doc here. I'm here. Come on, we're basically at our picks to click. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. A little nervous, but excited.
This is big for you now.
Yeah.
Don Birdie, Sean. Now I got to make sure this hasn't changed. I wrote these yesterday, and I'm sure everything's changed. All right. Well, question said, John Birdie leads the league with 28 stolen bases. Aaron Judge leads the league with 37 ding-dongs. Does Birdie get to 30 stolen bases before Aaron Judge gets to 40? I don't know if the numbers are different right now. So basically, it doesn't matter whether they are different because I don't even know. Unless you know if they're different.
I don't.
Well, at a point, this is where they're at, and I don't know if anything's changed. So what does it matter anyway?
Yeah. So how many does Birdie have?
Birdie has 28. Judge has 37.
Judge has been on a tear. He had 2 the other night.
I'm going to go with Birdie. Take Birdie.
I guess I'll go Judge then.
Okay.
God, I've never rooted for Yankees so hard in my life.
Number 2, Shane McClanahan, Sandy Alcantara, and Justin Verlander are still under a 2 ERA past the All-Star break. Over/under set at 2 pitchers still have a sub-2 ERA at the end of this week. So you either think it's going to be one of them or all 3. Because 2 is a push.
Do you have their ERAs in front of you?
I don't, but I'm going to get it up for you right now. If my thing loads. Let's hope it does. It's really, Sean, I gotta tell you, with the loading.
I'm gonna go over. I'm just gonna go over.
No, Sean, I don't want you to just. Here it is. McClanahan 171.
Okay.
Alcantara 181. Verlander 186.
I'm gonna say over.
He says over. He says all 3 basically is what he's saying, keeping it.
Yeah.
Judge is at 37. And let's see where Birdie's at, just so we know. Birdie's at 28. So we're good. Nothing changed there. Oh, Sean, I'm going to go under for shits and giggles. I don't like a lot of those pitchers. I'm not a fan of Alcantara and Verlander, so I hope they both get lit up.
How don't you like Alcantara?
The whole Kershaw, and Zeke loves them.
But he did nothing wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
But Zeke loves him, and I don't anything that Zeke loves, Sean. It's tough.
Fair enough.
Sandy's a great pitcher. All right. You kind of know my answer to this already. Soto will be traded by the end of the week, and if so, to who for a bonus point? Now, the end of the week is the 31st. So there's still a couple days after they could be traded. Are they going to hold out for the first or second? Basically, do they move him before the deadline? Is the question. And if so, who do you think they move him to?
I don't think they trade him before the deadline.
Okay. So Sean's going to go no. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the last 2 days. If they were to, just in case you can have a chance at the bonus point, who do you think they would?
That's tough. It's hard not to say the Dodgers, honestly. They haven't been thrown in the mix, which I think any team that's been in the mix is just been put out there to try and drive the price up for other teams. I don't think the Mets are trading for him. I don't think the Yankees are trading for him.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a team we haven't heard of. I don't think the Cardinals are either, even though they have the assets. I just don't see them doing that again for a third player like they did with Arenado and Goldschmidt. Obviously, this trade would be far exceed that based in talent, but
Sean goes no in the Dodgers. I'll say yes in the Rays just to be different, Sean. Give you a chance to either come back or have a much bigger lead at the end of the week. I'll do the risk reward there. That's it. That's all I got for him, Sean. You have anything for him?
I do not, other than just tune in to our very special episode for the trade deadline.
Yes, hopefully we'll have that out for you guys. You're probably watching this on Tuesday. Hopefully we'll have that out for you guys by Thursday or so. It'll be a nice little vid for you guys. I have a trade for every single team in the MLB. Okay? I spent way too much time digging in and doing this. I don't expect any other counterpart on the podcast to have one. It's going to be kind of like me in the power ranking, Sean, where I got about 18 names for the 10.
You got the just missed and the just missed.
I might even put out a separate episode just of me because no one's gonna want to fucking hear it. But it's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about Soto. We'll get into the whole trade. I'm sure we'll talk about Ohtani. Should the Angels move him? Will they move him? Who should they move him to and for what? And a lot of other jazz. I doubt we'll talk about Jazz Chisholm at all.
I hope not.
Because I don't think he's going to be traded.
It's the Marlins, though.
Marlins trading Jazzy?
It is the Marlins. That's all I'm going to say is the Marlins. I don't think they do, but the Marlins are the Marlins.
Yeah, the Marlins are the Marlins. That's all I got for you guys. I'll sign it out with Francisco Lindor shaking his head yes. Can't wait to tell you what I think the Mets do. I think they're selling. We'll see you next week.